So I ran into Sunshower the other day during a trade-in game. The person who gave me the Martyrdom build for the Necromancer, and they were talking about their multi-shot Zon that they were running for the season, and they said, hey, you really can't. The discussion basically went, you can't multi-shot with anything other than Wind Force or Bariza. And I said, no, you can totally win or multi-shot with an Eaglehorn. I've done it before. And they said, no, it's basically those two. So I agree in a sense, and I do mean in a sense. So, again, geopolitics analogies, right? That's why you guys actually come here, not for the content. There are two really main schools of economics. One is now called the Austrian School of Economics, which is sort of the right-wing version of things, and then there's the Keynesian economics, which is the left-wing sort of things. All the economics majors don't get upset with me that I'm oversimplifying here. But one of my favorite countries to look at in terms of development was Singapore, and it's a favored area of generally the Austrian economists because it is a right-wing country. It is incredibly capitalistic and right-wing capitalism at that. And they point to things that they did like focus on what they could export. They focused on banning labor unions, for example. Thought it was going to slow down the economic development, and workers' rights were essentially being hijacked by the unions as a means to slow down work as opposed to actually creating safer conditions for people, which in the 80s was kind of a controversy, or not in the 80s, this would have been 1950s and 60s. Actually, hang on, when was this? Singapore's economic boom was, yeah, it was like 60s, 70s there. So again, this is when the unions would have been a little bit more powerful, but nice foreshadowing there. If you think the teachers union in America, the second most powerful union in the country, does anything for teachers, I don't think you're paying attention. Everyone agrees now, right and left, teacher pay needs to increase. So how do we have two political parties, at least in my state, for example, Governor Youngkin still says, hey, increase teacher pay, he's the Republican. Democrats have always said increase teacher pay. And they have the second most powerful labor union in the country backing teachers, and we still have trouble raising pay for teachers. Like, yeah, the union's not doing anything for them. Or check out the NFLPA for NFL players. Why do the millionaires need a labor union? And they're one of the most ineffectual unions in the country. It's not 1920 anymore. A lot of the unions aren't doing a whole lot of work for people. So either way, Singapore banned labor unions and, well, did a bunch of other right-wing shit. But one of the things they did wasn't really right or left. The most important thing they did was they had to find a way to get a country full of poor people that had been essentially jettisoned from its home country and cut off, made independent, had to get them some sort of money, some sort of savings, some sort of liquid income, or some way to start gaining passive income. So what the government did was essentially created Section 8 housing. They created government housing, and they gave it to people. And then they forced them to save 1/4 of all their money into effectively what was a Social Security program. Then they said, hey, you can do one of two things. You can wait till you're 65 and retire and take all this money out, or you can pull the money out now, but only for one thing, buying real estate. And you can buy the government housing that we have built for you from us. The government maintained the housing, kept it in high standards, made sure it was beautiful. This is a right-wing idea, by the way. This is why architecture matters. People are less likely to destroy government housing if it looks good. When you build a brutalist Soviet-style structure and then let it get graffitied and beat to hell, it gets more beat to hell over time. It attracts the wrong people and then ruins the government housing that you've created. And they allowed people to purchase it now to the point that I think it's like 4 out of 5 people own a home or some sort of apartment in Singapore that was once previously owned by the government. It's not right, it's not left. It was sort of left to create government housing. It was definitely right-wing, or to make people buy their own. But what was it in the middle there when they were telling people, we're forcing you, taking away your freedom to save this money because we know better than you, but we're going to give it back to you? It's not a binary choice there, right? It's not just Bariza, it's not just Wind Force. Think outside the box and have some fun with it. You can use the big crafted bows, obviously, but here's my argument. A, for Bariza. 1, a 6-socket Wind Force. If it's got below 300 ED, that's a 5-socket. Thanks, buddy. Because, well, you're putting ED-IAS jewels in this, most likely. If you're missing the ED on the base bow, you're missing a socket, essentially, right? So, 1-5. I think you can find one for 1-1, but that's a complete min roll. That's basically a 4.5 socket. Okay, there we go. One with the correct ED. 5. And you can't even find the other ones with bad ED because, or good ED because they're gone. All right. Well, here's why I use Bariza, which I swear is better. And Season 5, when we were timing the maps, guys, the people who were timing on their Boazons eventually switched to Barizas, and they were very good players. But again, if you want a 6-socket, okay, bad ED, you can get it for a gull. First off, that's cheaper than the 1 high rune, right? But look at the prices here. 10 high runes for 1, that's juiced, I guess. 237, again, gull, cheaper. Ist, bad ED though. Hell, if you want a 6-socket mid-roll, that's essentially a 5-socket. It's still an rune. This is cheaper, going to be cheaper across the board to use a Bariza every time. Here's why I don't use either of them. It's because I have this build. So we will be auditing my hybrid multi-shot Zon from season, yeah. I have an Eaglehorn, and when I say this is a hybrid, guys, actually we'll start with the Eaglehorn, but passive magics. I got, what, 6 of them? I got 3 max damage charms, 2 max damage charms, and an all res. Right? This is an actual hybrid. So I want you to imagine this. My multi-shot with the Merc, 7.2, right? That's not a whole bunch. You can get, I just saw on the showcase today, someone had 14. But you'll understand when you see my gear. First off, those ED jewels are 20 to 25 with IAS on them. They're pretty cheap, so you can pump more damage out of this that way. My fort is missing about 25 ED. My crown is only missing like, what, 14 ED? So that's pretty juiced. Canopy Frozen 3-socket. I'm wearing an Atma's. Did I never realize I had 2 Canopy Frozens on this? Holy shit, am I an idiot? I totally do. Maybe I had a different Ami. Bow arrows, or arrows, not there completely. These are okay arrows. They do what they need to. No war travs, for example, because I wanted to run faster. And this was a curse immune, yeah. Pierce, I don't have a, for example, a coil on. I have a cultist on, again, for curse reduce. That was the whole point of this one. So you could imagine, even using the Eaglehorn, you can pump out another 100, or I don't know, 60, 70 ED on your jewels there. You could be wearing Soul Drainers, which are going to be a massive boost. You could be getting 20% more Deadly Strike, and that would give you IAS from the coil as well, meaning you could probably replace one of your jewels with max, and you could be wearing War Travs, and you could have more than just 2 max damage charms. Eaglehorn is perfectly fine for multi-shot. It can work, it will work, it's great. The Ravens also, level 28 Raven, and they do 500 additional cold damage. Those Ravens are non-zero damage, and they slow things down when they hit them with the cold. That is, it's not like it's game breaking or anything like that. It's a flavor thing, but it's a little more than that. It is decent damage, especially for taking out immunes if you didn't have a source of amp. And of course on the Merc, I am pretty juiced on the Merc here. But yeah, Faith and Templars to ramp things up. Speaking of which, since everyone always, I want you to look, I was looking through some of my old arrows, and I was on a Bariza before this. You see the things I'm keeping that aren't selling? Like, some of the people are putting things up, like that one's pretty good. That one could probably sell. But you gotta have 5, 6 rolls hit right on these, and Deadly Strike and ED have to be one of them. IAS on bolts is generally wasted. But the point is, when you run this, and you'll see in the background, it's a 100% Blood Moon. I don't have any... This is on non-ladder, so I don't have time to farm up standards and things like that. So we'll see how many of these non-ladder things I can do. But when you are playing this and you'll see it, what you want to do is spam, like really quickly, your strafe, and then multi-shot things down. And because you are a hybrid, you still have your decoys, which are doing significant damage, but they're really there to keep you safe. That's the whole point of hybriding into Summons on. It is safe. It's almost impossible to die if you're doing things correctly. Skills. So again, on a regular multi-shot Zon, you just go multi-shot, and you can run the Eaglehorn with standard multi-shot gear here and max damage charms. It'll be great. You'll get to like, what, 10, 11, 12k multi-shot, it's fine. And then you'd probably dump into your passives and maybe a max Valk or something like that. And you'd have more points for Pierce, which would, you get the Razor Tail off. But like I said, it's a hybrid. So Strafe is maxed, Multishot is maxed, Decoy's maxed, Valkyrie's maxed, and then I dumped into Penetrate and put a couple extra points into Critical Strike, though I'm hearing Critical Strike does not work for the Decoys, never has. Not sure about that, but either way, you probably take those 5 points out and put them into Penetrate somewhere else. So, what are the categories that we are going over? In no particular order and kind of all together at once, it's mapping, bossing, fun, wrist melting, and gearing. So mapping, yeah, it maps. This is a pure mapper, really, because Multishot and Strafe are not boss-killing items. Declone Strafe could be viable if they would stop the stupid towers from being targetable, and then Strafe, I would wreck Declone with the summons on if they would just take that off. But no, Multishot obviously works, and this hybrid works. It's just different playstyle. You group things up with one decoy, strafe into the pack to get that amp to go off, and then just spray down. It makes up for the damage that you're missing from your Multishot. In terms of bossing, again, it's pretty good for like map bosses because you have strafe, right? And if your bow is on, even pure Multishot, you probably should put 1 point in strafe because I bet you it's just quicker to hold down strafe and knock the thing out. And in terms of fun, I mean, Lord, look at it. It's just a weird, unique playstyle. If you don't like unique playstyles, you just want to hold down the button and spray the screen down, well, play regular Multishot. But this is just a little different. Like I said, a little bit safer. It handles the juicier maps. If you've ever, one of the most disappointing things is when you try to throw on like a 40% life map and realize your character actually can't handle it. That's why I kind of built this way. It can handle anything. If you need a 40% life map, this can handle it because it has all of the decoys. You don't have to junk that map and have that shame walk as you delete your showcase video, which I know a bunch of you have done before. Wrist melting. This is not high APM. It looks like it, but you can just basically click anywhere with those decoys, and your mouse is in the same spot the decoys are being laid out. So your Multishot and your strafe you don't need to aim, and Multishot's going where your decoys are, so you're really not clicking that much. It's pretty simple, pretty quick, and very easy. Now, gearing. Why did I run through those first 4 things? It's because everyone knows what Multishot is. Even with this hybrid version I'm running, it's just a slightly different play style. You know it's a good mapper, you know it's a little subpar on bossing, you know it's going to be fun if you like the Multishot playstyle, and you know it's not that difficult. The gearing. I mean, you are basically locked into a Fortitude and then into a Tyraels, right? And that is going to be expensive as all hell. You know you're locked into a big 6-socket weapon, Briza, Wind Force, crafted weapon, and I contend the Eaglehorn. Still going to cost you an arm and a leg, but why Eaglehorn? Oh, we just looked at the Brizas, right? Gull from nearly max roll. Ist, low roll. Yeah, a little bit cheaper. Ooh, you want one with jewels already in it? Ist. There you go. Yeah, Eaglehorn's pretty dope, guys. Again, cheaper. Don't know why people don't use it. It is sick as all hell. The base attack rating on it is nice too. I like that. I like that it has dexterity on it. I like that it has 2 to Amazon skills, which goes with the hybrid. So I think that's great. Problem, again, gearing. You need a crown. You need a giant skull. You need something with 3 sockets and a hell of a lot of damage, and the jewels. Good luck. Arrows. Finding arrows. Arrow prices have gone up. I used to always say, hey, gull for just almost any decent set of arrows, but finding them. It's not just the cost, it's the haggling, negotiating with people, because someone might actually have the set of arrows that's correct, and they want, 1.5 for it, and no one is going to buy them. And people will sort of get antsy with big ticket items, that crown that's not selling. They're like, that is definitely worth money, I want to get rid of it. But on an item like arrows, even though they could be making easy money, they'll hold on to the arrows. There's something about cheapier items that makes people just kind of go, I don't need to sell that item right now. If you're going with curse reduction, you need the crown, and then you need all these corrupts. Curse reduction on multi-shot is not as necessary anymore, I guess, with River being down into tier 2. You can just skip that, but there is still the what is it, the cold background map that has the Decrepify on it. It just helps a shit ton, and again, it's expensive. And in considering multi-shot's main weakness is the amount of gear it needs, every bit of damage you can find increases it sort of exponentially as you start just steamrolling. That's how most classes are, but it really affects multi-shot more than most. So making sure you have a max fanaticism for breakpoints, right? Like, that is incredibly important. Because I think on Wind Force, at least, for example, your max frame with a 15 fanaticism faith is 95 IAS. It's 99 or worse with any of the lower aura levels. So 95 is a nice round even number and easy to get to. You're missing an entire socket essentially if you don't have a 15 faith crossbow or bow of any type, right? That stinks. That's expensive. And if you're trying to roll your own, it's like you might as well save up the extra 3 high runes and buy one instead of trying to gamble for your own. Templars are through the roof because of the Green Goblin Necro build this season. It's just everything on this is damn expensive, no matter how you build it. So that's my argument for A, my hybrid version of this. A, it's cheaper. B, Eaglehorn is dope. You're a ranger. Come on. You're Aragorn. You're Legolas, right? This is cooler. I have ravens. You don't. Style points do count for coolness, and I didn't even put my CTA on, but the point is, there's a nice little breakdown of this. Multi-shot, as you all knew, has a gearing problem. That is its biggest drawback, but if you want a new way to run it, check out the Ranger build. Eaglehorn, man. Eaglehorn. Use it, Sunshower. It's great.